Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
All right, good evening. My name is Andrew Frazier, host of Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Tonight, our special guest is Jimmy Newson, the Impact Influencer, and very excited about tonight's show. We're going to talk about using AI to stop working below your pay grade. Definitely, I talk a lot about how entrepreneurs and small business owners tend to not price enough and tend to not bring in enough or how much they should. So Jimmy has a way or has created a system to help entrepreneurs and business owners be able to focus on what's most important. So very excited about tonight's show. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. As always, we appreciate your comments, your questions, your ideas. And, Jimmy is one of the few guests that we have on fairly regular. And that's just because he's always working on great new stuff and, always willing to share cutting edge knowledge and information on the technology and strategy side. So, Jimmy, I'll let you introduce yourself real quick. Take a couple minutes and then we'll get started.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for always having me here. I appreciate you inviting me back. That must mean that I must be saying something good. So thanks for that. And I appreciate being here. Shout out to Darren, the pizza real estate guy, Leaksock, I think, and Matt. Thank you all for being here. I'm excited to talk about today, but a little bit about myself. My name is Jimmy Newson. I'm the Impact Influencer. I am the founder and CEO of Moving Forward Small Business. Our vision is to be the #1 strategic support system globally. Our mission is to save 1 million small businesses from failure by 2050, leveraging innovation, technology, and business strategy. So there's always a little bit of all three mixed up into anything that I talk about. I'm all small business all day, every day. I get the chance to work with some of the biggest brands, some of the biggest organizations, government, nonprofit, and of course, corporate. And a lot of that will play into the conversation I'm going to have today with you. Definitely ask those questions. I'm looking forward to sharing. I gatekeep nothing. Nothing's off limit. You can ask me anything. You can ask me everything. I like to be an open book, so I look forward to sharing. Again, I'm all about small business support, small business partnerships. So that's it, Andrew. That's it for right now, buddy.
Okay. Excellent. So, definitely you've worked on a lot of great things. And, this is an initiative that you started recently.
Yeah.
It's caught on, and a lot of people have found significant value for themselves and for their organizations. So, talk a little bit about, from the beginning, what it is, how do you do this? We're talking about using AI to stop working below your pay grade. What does that mean? And how are you approaching it?
Absolutely, it's a great question. In order to stop working below your pay grades, you have to set like a ground, of what is, what it is, how much, what are the things that you can do, and how much is that particular task, that particular idea worth. So we created I have an ebook I'm going to share with everybody. I'm going to share my screen a little bit, and it's called Stop Working Below Your Pay Grade. It's the 10K CEO Task Matrix. So I'm going to share that matrix in a little bit. And basically there's 4 levels. There's $10 an hour task, there's $100 an hour task, there's $1,000 an hour task, and then there's $10,000 an hour task. The key thing to think about here is that any and everything you do as a business owner, as a founder, as a CEO, as a leader, has a dollar value to it. And so before we can even think about are we working below, at, or above our pay grade, we have to ask ourselves what are the things that we are doing, and then we have to put that into this CEO matrix. So, and this is not the concept of it is not mine. I followed a guy named Perry Marshall, and he wrote a book called 80/20 Sales and Marketing, and he actually had a marketing matrix, and it was $10 an hour, $100 an hour, $1,000 and $10,000 an hour. And I got permission from him to teach that a lot because my background is in marketing and sales. Recently, I combined it with another thing I learned from another organization out of London, and we created this thing called CEO Hour. So before I get into that, I took what he had created from the marketing and sales side of that matrix, and I said, what do CEOs? And when I say CEOs, I'm not talking about Fortune 500 CEOs, Fortune 100 CEOs. I'm talking about everyday entrepreneurs who may not necessarily see themselves as a CEO, or they wear the title, but they really don't walk the walk of a CEO. And I mapped out what are $10 an hour tasks typically for that individual, what are $100 tasks for that individual, all the way up to 10K. And I am conscious enough to now know that I pretty much straddle the $1,000 to $10,000 an hour task when I'm doing things, and you have to be very conscious of that as you're doing that. I even have it printed on my wall, so it reminds me when I'm doing $10 an hour stuff, when I'm doing $100 an hour stuff, because at this point, as the CEO of my organization, if I'm doing $10 or even $100 an hour stuff, I am absolutely working below my pay grade. And so I'm constantly reminding myself, all right, I have to stop doing this, and I have to focus more on $1,000 and $10,000 an hour stuff. Now, the problem with $1,000 and $10,000 an hour stuff is it doesn't pay off quickly. This is definitely more of a long-term strategy, and it takes patience. And you can still do $10 an hour stuff, and you can still do $100 an hour stuff. But the key here is to be cautious enough to know that I have to start to move myself from the left, where it starts at $10, and gradually move myself all the way over to the 10K and try to stay there as much as possible. And for everybody on here, I'm going to show you some of the tasks that are in all 4 of these different categories. And I'm going to give you access for free to the book, the ebook, that you can use. And you can use this ebook in conjunction with AI to help you better get an understanding of how you spend your time and energy, and start to migrate over from there. Now, that doesn't mean that the $10 and $100 an hour stuff is not important. It's extremely important to continue to build and grow your business. What you have to do is figure out, how do I start to pass that stuff off to someone else, delegate it off my plate to someone else, whether I am a solopreneur or I'm someone who works with a small team, and I'm in charge of looking at the big picture and trying to spend most of my time working on stuff that's really going to move the needle and get us closer to that purpose, that vision, that mission of the organization. And the more you start to play there, the more you're gonna, the better you're gonna feel, and the more you're gonna live up to the role of the CEO, of the founder, the person that's in charge of making sure that everything is in place so everyone else can be the best that they can be. So, Kyle, I'm glad you're loving this, buddy. So I'm gonna stop there, Andrew.
Okay, excellent. Well, appreciate you sort of laying that out, and it helps to frame the conversation, but also just helps us to really understand where we're headed. I think a lot of us just do stuff because it needs to be done, but don't even think about, how valuable is it. But I think that, you mentioning that you still got to do stuff that needs to get done, or it still has to get done. So Is it a question of you or somebody else, or is there a way to do it faster and easier?
Yeah. And this is where AI starts to come into play. It's either one, you don't have someone to pass that $10 and $100 work off to you. So now you're going to leverage AI for that. Or two, you're going to leverage AI to take things out of your mind and put it into systems that then will be ready for when you are ready to either make that first hire or delegate it off of your plate to someone that is now ready to take that task or that series of tasks on.
Okay. Definitely, it's important to get help. And, as a small business owner, sometimes it's hard because you're juggling cash flow and staffing and teams and, you got a lot of different stuff going on. So, there's my son in the background. So he's, working on some stuff for us. So appreciate him for doing that. So Jimmy,
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've got these different level jobs, and you've sort of laid out what they are. And I guess that's in your ebook specifically, but just give us some example. Why don't you give us some examples of those? I don't know if you want me to pull up your image or.
Yeah, why don't you pull up my image? Because I see someone that says, which daily tasks should entrepreneurs automate first? So this is the actual ebook. And again, you'll get access to it. I'll share the link to the book as well. What I'm going to look at here is I'm going to start with this here. So basically, you're going to move from operator to architect. And I'm also going to show you the tool that we built that leverages AI to help you do that. But here are some things that fall into the $10 an hour category, and I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let me just come over here and zoom this up a little bit. So we have a $10 an hour category, we have the $100 an hour category, we have the $10,000 an hour category, and we have the $10,000 an hour category. And the key here is before we start leveraging AI, we need to understand what it is that we have available to us, what it is we're doing. So when we think about $10 an hour tasks, we call that the administrative quicksand, because we're stuck in this quicksand. And you know what happens when you get stuck in quicksand. It's very, very hard to get out of it. And this is things like inbox overwhelm and sorting. So your emails, calendar and tennis scheduling, manual paperwork and invoicing, pixel pushing web adjustments. So if you're working on your website, that can fall in $10 an hour. It could also fall into $10,000 an hour category. It just depends on what you're doing. You got perfectionism. I am so not a perfectionist anymore. Perfection is the killer of progress. So I want it good enough to me to move on. That doesn't mean I'm going to put out something sloppy. It still has to meet a certain level of quality. But at the end of the day, I couldn't care less if it's blue or green at this point. Mindless social browsing. It goes on. I don't even do my own food shop anymore. I actually use Instacart to do all my food shopping. And that was a conscious decision I made because I feel it's a waste of time for me to go food shopping. I prefer to do other things that are more purposeful, more meaningful. So I validate using Instacart just because of that. The $100 an hour section is what we call the technical trap. Now, this is when you're really starting to use your skills. All right. So you're doing things like manual project delivery. You're reacting to fires. So you're constantly putting out fires. You're doing basic tinkering with ads. You're doing manual AI prompting. So it's not good prompting. Routine asset monitoring. You're on the phone with unvetted prospects. This is a $100 an hour thing. Now that's great if you're paying somebody $100 an hour, but it's not good for you as the founder or CEO of your organization. Micro delegation, standard milestone reviews, software updates, plug-in tuning, template contract drafting, basic bookkeeping. Now again, if you're the only person, then you have to do bookkeeping. But the key here is to gradually move from all the way from the left to the right. And the thing is, so you might start focusing on replacing $10 an hour work. Hey, I know I'm doing a lot of $10 an hour work. Let's see if I can start doing some $100 an hour work, make some money, and then bring somebody on that can do this $10 an hour work so it still gets done, but I can continue to move over to the right. Then you've got your $1,000 an hour. So this is your system architect. Okay. So Jason says, can AI help solo entrepreneurs compete with much larger companies? Absolutely. Now that is another can of worms, but you got to be really hyper focused, and you also have to be very, very clear on how you spend your time. And that brings us back to this document here, where I'm a very small organization, but we're working with some of the biggest brands and biggest organizations on the planet. And it's not because we are bigger, it's because we're very, very focused on how we spend our time over here. And we spend a lot of time, again, in that $1,000 and that $10,000 area. Okay. So when we think about $1,000, we're thinking now financial leak audits. Where are the issues? This is where a guy like Andrew, and Andrew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you go in and you help people find money without them having to, take out a loan. There's usually money hidden in their business, and you're really good at helping them find that, right?
Definitely. You have to understand what's going on with your business, and you can only do that with the numbers. And that can allow you to notice things that you can adjust to be more profitable.
Absolutely. And this is where, again, you might be using AI for any of these components: high ticket pipeline closing, automated funnel engineering. I'm in Gemini every day. Gemini is my tool of choice. And when I'm in Gemini, I'm usually having the tool help me with automated funnel engineering, premium campaign strategies, high-level marketing architecture, AI-driven workflows. So my AI is helping me build these things. Why? Because sometimes I'm passing them off to someone else, or I'm spending way too much time here. Let me figure out a way to automate this specific thing, because it's still very valuable and it's high dollar value. But I want to simplify it, and I want to speed up that process. Okay, complex team leverage, psychology-backed copywriting, ironclad playbook SOPs. And a prime example of this is what I call the voice to playbook trick. And sometimes you'll have things in your head, and I did this for one of my tools. I spend about 7 hours. I take that back. I probably spend more than that. I spend about 7 to 10 hours every month preparing training programs for our community. And I used to do that every month from scratch. And I said, this is extremely, extremely important. But I said, this is taking way too much time. So I had AI vibe code me a system. And I said, this is what I have to do every single month. And I always feel like I have to start from scratch. And as valuable as this is there a way for me to save time? And it helped me build a framework builder. I taught it to think like me. I taught it to look at what I typically prepare, so it understood how I needed that output. I built in checkpoints so I could always check in on it. I'm like, every time it hits a step, I review it. I go, great, continue. It hits another stop. I go, great, continue. So the human, me, is still always throughout the entire process. Now, what used to take me anywhere from 7 to 10 hours to create a seven-part framework training for my community, I can now do in about 20 minutes, from start to finish, very deep research, and I have to do very little post production on that. And now where I do this training every month, and I'm usually at the first of the month, I'm now rushing to get it produced. I am now 6 months ahead of schedule with this. So, and every time I come up with an idea, I can now go to that system that I built and go, here's my topic, here's my research, here's my points, here's what I want you to think about, and now I need you to help me produce this thing. And it comes out, and I'm just like, this thing is fire. And now I can do that at whim. So that's an example. I turned a $10,000 hour structure into a $10,000 an hour structure, just because the value of that I use in my partnerships, are where I get the real value. Because now if I move over to the $10,000 an hour category, you'll see things like proprietary software, IP assets, designing scalable client ecosystems, cultivating brand communities. This one I'm going to stop for a second. They say the money's in the list. I say the new capital is communities. You need to start to build a community around your brand. So that in itself is its own conversation. But at the end of the day, that's what it's going to take. There's a lot of competition out there. People going, all right, AI is going to create a lot of slop out there for people. What's going to be the difference? The difference is how you connect with people. The communities you build around your brand, the community you build around your products, your services, and how you make people feel, not just when they're using your products and services, but how they feel when they're around your brand. Proprietary USP, unique selling proposition. One-to-many group conversations. I now do a lot of group training, and I do a lot of one-to-many, meaning I'm on stage a lot more now, and I'm even more picky about the stages I go on. Stages I used to go on all the time, I stopped going on because if there's no value for me to give, and there's no value for me to get from it, I realize, okay, now I need to take that off my plate, and I need to replace it with something else of equal or greater value. Okay, corporate culture hardening, deep market vulnerability audits, SWOT analysis, things like these things that you would go, those things are not really that important. I'm not really going to worry about them. Trust me, when it comes to strategy, these things are the best thing for you as a CEO, and you need to block out time to move further and further from the left to the right. And the more you do it, the easier it starts to become, because it's a pattern. But if you don't start to integrate this pattern into your daily life, then it's just going to go in one ear and out the other. So I'm going to get to the AI portion in a second, but I'm going to stop for a second. Do you want to, if we have questions, or if you want to ask me anything, Andrew?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely you covered some key things that I just want to go back over real quick. And I think the first is, using AI. You don't use AI for AI's sake. You use AI based on your strategy. So you don't start with AI, you start with your strategy.
You start with your strategy.
It's important to understand you're just using AI to do stuff that you already want to do. Mm-hmm. You said that coding is key, but that sounds like a big, scary word. So I don't know that everybody knows what coding means.
Okay.
As demonstrated by me when we talked about this topic, I was like, oh, what does coding mean? He's like, oh, you've been coding.
You've been vibe coding. And that's V as in Victor, IB as in boy, E, vibe.
Vibe, okay. So tell us what that is.
So vibe coding is kind of like the newest thing on the block for all of us out here who ever had an idea to create some type of software, whether it's internal for your organization or something that you go, if you've ever worked with a software and you go, I wish this thing could do this, it'd be so much better. Well, vibe coding allows you to build that so much better. And vibe coding is really about talking. You talk through creating something. So you're using natural language, and you're using a platform like Base 44, which is my platform of choice, Lovable. Any of these platforms that are vibe coding platforms, and you're starting to create these things. That's in the $10,000 an hour section. That's your proprietary software IP asset. I'm going to show you one of them today that I use, that I built, and now I'm building partnerships with these big organizations because I built this platform the way that I see it. It serves my audience to the fullest, and it also serves me, and it helps me alleviate bottlenecking of myself. I can get out of my own way and help my audience, and also see the progress moving forward. So vibe coding, if you're not familiar with it, you should look it up. We're going to be doing a lot of vibe coding. We're doing quite a bit of vibe coding right now in the college market for training, in corporate, and we're starting to go into the government side and teaching vibe coding to those entrepreneurs. So if you happen to be building websites, if you happen to be working inside of your CRMs, if you're working with any technology-based tools, vibe coding allows you to build a tool that might replace that tool. And when I say that, and the reason why it's a $10,000 an hour thing, because it might start internal to you, but it might be so powerful that one day you might make that tool public, and you just spent weeks, months, years perfecting it and making it so unique that when you come out the gate and you share that, it is a very unique piece of IP property that just increased the value of your organization tenfold.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it becomes valuable, but also it protects you and your organization, in that many organizations are held hostage by their technology people.
Absolutely.
And that allows you to create websites, create apps, all those things, by just talking or defining what you want and working with AI to help AI create it. So, definitely that, just for that benefit, is huge, because I run into a lot of business owners who, can't change their website, or don't even know how to log into their website, or other things. So definitely very important. Now, you also mentioned community.
Yep.
And how community is becoming more and more and more important in terms of success in business.
Yep.
Especially nowadays that you have AI, you have overwhelming content, you have a lot of different things, but how do you differentiate yourself? And community is a big way to do that. So we had a show called Community Building versus Audience Building.
I'm sorry, I missed that second part. Community building
versus audience building.
Okay.
To talk about the differences between them, and what are the benefits of each, and what type of situations might each be most effective. But definitely moving forward, building a community is so much more valuable than just creating content for the net. So you got your pyramid here. Talk a little bit about the pyramid.
All right, so I'm gonna move into the AI a little bit, because now here's like the first test. What I want you to do is I want you to look at your calendar. So this is a great way. Really what we're talking about is time management at the end of the day. So look at your last 48 to 72 hours and take a piece of paper or open up a Word doc and list all the things that you did in the last 72 hours based on your calendar. Now, I live and die by my calendar, so everything goes in my calendar, whether it's a meeting or a task that I'm trying to complete in that specific time. And if you can take that and go, all right, here are the things I did in the last 48 to 72 hours, upload that into your favorite AI tool. And then ask that prompt to go, based on this, these are the things I've done for the last 48 hours, rate them between $10 an hour task and $10,000 an hour task. Now, that's kind of broad because the tool may not have a lot to go on. So what you could do is you could take this ebook of mine and also upload that ebook and go, here's my source for what a $10 an hour task could be, a $100 an hour task could be, a $10,000 an hour task could be, and a $10,000 an hour task could be. And based on that, rate my last 48 hours and then put them in 4 buckets and tell me which bucket I spend most of my time in. So immediately you can get an idea of where you're spending your time. And you might be really surprised to see how much you value something that doesn't really have a lot of value. I think that becomes the biggest thing you realize. You're like, yeah, I thought this was so much value. And it's like, no, it's not. And what it's really saying is, yes, it is value, but it's not something that you yourself should be doing. This is absolutely something you need to give to someone else so you can focus on something bigger. So then you could still use AI in that same essence and go, how do I improve this and do more of the $1,000 hour work and $10,000 an hour work? And this is just a starting point, just so you can kind of gauge, one, where you're at and what might be your next steps. So that's one thing. The second thing, you can go, all right, I got a lot of $10 and $100 an hour tasks here based on what I'm seeing. Help me map out an SOP strategy to create SOPs around these low dollar value tasks, so I can start to pass them off. Now, you might do them in groups, you might do them individually, because some of these $100 an hour tasks might be very meaty, meaning there's a lot of steps to them. So you might go, let me just focus on these 2 or 3 things I'm doing a lot, but I now see are not very valuable when it comes to the rest of my calendar. Okay, and now when you're doing that, you can start to get a better idea. And basically what you're doing is you're becoming more self-aware. And this is what happens in our community. So we built the CEO strategy hour, and I'm going to show you how it works in real time in a second. But this is how we start to go, holy crap, I had no idea I was wasting my time. And so I use it. So I'm not only the hair club president, I'm also a hair club client. As you can see, I have no hair, so I got a long way to go. All right. So you start to leverage AI to help you strategize and move over to the right. Now, as you start to move over to the right, you might look at one of these things. Let's just say cultivating brand communities. You might go, I understand that cultivating brand communities is a $10,000 an hour strategy. I don't know where to start, but I tell you what, AI helped me figure out how I can cultivate a brand strategy around my brand. Here is my website. So you drop in your URL of your website and go, and you might say, here's my product page. Here's my category of products or services. So you see what I do. How do I build a community around this? And so now you're going to think about things like 2 of the best companies, and there are a lot of them out there. There are 2 of the best companies that do community so well, are Red Bull and Jeep. You don't argue with a Jeep owner, because they will come out and they will come after you as a group. They're not the CEO. They don't even work for the company. They're just like, don't mess with Jeep and don't mess with mine. And Red Bull, if anybody's ever followed them with now their sports and their energy and all this stuff, Red Bull is definitely not the best healthy drink on the planet, but it doesn't matter. Their community is strong. So it goes beyond your product and services. So when I think about what I'm building with Moving Forward Small Business, I'm thinking like that. And so I'm building things like the CEO Strategy Hour that are beyond my products and services. When I do CEO Strategy Hour for my community, it's got nothing to do with my teaching. It's got nothing to do with my hours and hours of training It's them doing their own thing. I just provided them a space to become better CEOs based on a simple framework that I gave them. So enough talking, because I need to show you what I mean, because it doesn't come into play until I show you. So this here is our CEO strategy hour. So this is the landing page for it, but I'm going to take you inside. When people join our community, this is the actual platform. And it's broken down into, at the very beginning, it's a 1 hour. And they at the beginning of the hour, they will, we do what we call a strategic waterfall. Okay, and this whole platform was vibe coded. So I'm showing you a vibe coded platform that helped me simplify how I do things, speeding up my time to delivery, my ability to service a massive audience like that with this tool. But so we have the strategic waterfall. The next thing, once everybody tells us what they're going to work on for the next hour in their CEO hour, then everybody goes into deep work. Cameras off, microphones off, and everybody just works. Now what you got is a collective community. Even though they're not talking to each other, they feel the vibe between each other because they're all working. And these people are across the country, and in some cases around the world. And then at the end, we'll pick a couple of people that to talk. But here's where the AI comes in. So at the beginning, we asked everyone to write down what they're going to do for the next hour. So what I did was I built a thing called the strategic waterfall focus. So I'm going to do two variations. I'm going to go, what's going to be my strategic focus for, I'm going to make this larger so you can see it. What's going to be my strategic waterfall focus? I want to work on social media post for next week, so it's done and I don't have to do it. Okay, so you're going, okay, I just want to get ahead of social media, so it's off my plate. You're going to hit this button called Analyze with AI. I've already integrated this ebook into the tool, so it's going to help me figure out what is the value of it, and it's going to tell me a little information on how, if it's low value, how I should adjust so I don't do it anymore. If it's high value, it's going to tell me why it's high value and why I should keep doing it. So now you can see it said it's $10 an hour work. Creating routine social media posts is classic administrative quicksand that eats your leverage and stalls your growth. You're performing low value maintenance that should be delegated to a social media manager or fully automated using scheduling tools. Now I'm going to change that, and I'm going to say I'm working on a partnership opportunity with a big brand that loves my training and wants to partner. I need to build a strategy to present. Now, so I'm going to spend my hour working on a strategy around a potential partnership. Now I'm going to analyze that. And it goes, that's $10,000 an hour work. This is true CEO lever because it involves a B2B strategic alliance that structurally alters your financial velocity and market reach. By focusing on high-level partnership architectures rather than execution tasks, you are positioning your business for exponential growth. I'm going to do one more. I'm preparing to speak at my friend's event about time management. So I'm going to spend this time on building my deck. Let's analyze that. I already know what the value of it, but and that's $100 an hour. Now I actually thought it might be $1,000 an hour work, but it's $100. Building a slide deck falls under the technical trap as it is manual delivery that relies entirely on your physical presence to create the asset. To elevate this to $10,000 work, so now it's going to tell you how you could turn this into $10,000 work. Treat this presentation as a scalable one-to-many conversation tool rather than just a talk. And delegate the slide design to a contractor once you have the strategic outline finished. So it's saying, yes, spend your time on the high level and build it out into something that's bigger than just a deck, but then pass this on to someone to do that manual work, because that is probably going to take 2 to 3 times longer than what it took you to create what it was. So now you can see how you're going, okay, I'm done with that. Now where's my next $1,000 to $10,000 hour strategy? Let's get this off to someone else, because I don't need to see this whole thing through to completion. Okay, so what happens is once you do that, you can write in your deep notes, your winner circles, and then you save it. And so imagine 100 people on the call all doing this at the same time. And now their progress is being saved. So I mentioned that I do this almost every day. So I can see that 64% of my time is spent on high value. High value is $1,000 and $10,000 work versus $10 and $100 an hour work. So I just brought my value down because of that task I did. So we're going to delete that and not let that go up on my account, because I actually get awards for making sure I try to stay above that. So again, this is a tool I built. And I built this kind of to help me stay focused on staying in my lane of $1,000 and $10,000 an hour work. But now it's also a tool that every one of my community members uses, and now they're getting value out of it. And now I'm passing that on. That in itself is $10,000 an hour work. Okay, so that's just an example. So I'm going to stop because I realize I've been talking quite a bit. Andrew, what's up, buddy?
Okay. No, I mean, definitely, I like what you have to share, but, just because you're doing $10,000 an hour work doesn't mean you're getting $10,000 an hour.
Absolutely.
So, and it's also like, how effectively are you doing it? Are there any guidelines or rules of thumb or ways to make sure that you're not just doing the $10,000 work based on task, but you're also doing it in a way that is worth $10,000?
Right. And one, we don't have time to scratch that bug, that itch, but it always comes back to your strategy. What are the things you're trying to do? When I mentioned at the very beginning of this call, I told you 2 things. I told you my vision and I told you my mission. My vision is to be the #1 strategic support system for small businesses globally. And my mission is to save 1 million businesses from failure by 2050, leveraging innovation, technology, and strategy. All 3 of those exist in this tool. And everything that I popped in here plays a role in that vision and that mission. So if you don't have a North Star from the very beginning, which you and I have talked about many, many times, that becomes what you should be focusing on and going, all right, I need to figure out what I'm doing. And again, I mentioned this earlier as well. I go, the problem with $10,000 an hour is the gratification is not instant. You have to start thinking long term, which is why most people will abandon it. You have to commit early to this, and you have to stick to it. But you do have to make sure that you are on the right path. And the only way to make sure you're on the right path is you've laid out the path. You've laid out the destination in advance. So when you are doing these things, you go, does this align with my purpose, my vision, my mission, and my values? And if it does, then that tells you, yes, I need to be going in this direction. Now that you're going in that direction, the next question becomes, is this a task that I should be doing or a task that someone else should be doing? And now that's when you consult the CEO, the $10,000 CEO matrix, to go, all right, all these things need to be done. Social media needs to be done. Decks need to be created. All this stuff needs to be created. But if you're not aware of how you yourself are spending your time, and as you start to gain momentum as a business owner, you want to gradually move from $10 to $10,000. So I'm not saying you can do that tomorrow. I'm saying this is a process. This is someone said this is a great mindset. Pizza Real Estate said that's such an important mindset shift. This is a mindset shift. You have to reset your mind. You need something to use to validate the shift. It has to make sense. And as you do, this is a slow process. Again, I logged the CEO hours. So here's how our CEO hours work. So I'm going to scroll down. You see a calendar. So every month, people are registering in the day and the evening just to do CEO hours. Again, we don't teach on this. They just sign up and they go, here's what I'm working on. But they use the book as a guide until they get really used to it. And one thing I didn't show you, I showed you the breakdown of these $100 and $1,000 and 10,000 hours. But if you scroll down the book, it actually gives you very deep understandings of the $10 an hour bucket, the $100 an hour bucket. And this is not the entire list. This is just some of the top things that you would do. So this gets you started. So you can start thinking, oh, so that's what a $10,000 an hour task looks like. The objective, why we call it a $10,000 an hour task, is because once it does finally pay off, it's usually paying off at 10 times, 100 times the value as of what it took to make it in the first place. Okay, so this is why this is so important. This is why I asked for permission from Perry Marshall to originally do his marketing and sales one when I was more marketing and sales. As I transitioned into moving forward small business, they go, I need one that focuses more on entrepreneurs and small business owners, that whether if you're working solo, then you're pretty much need to get stuff off your plate. If you're working with a small team, you're most likely the bottleneck. That becomes the difference between a solopreneur and someone working with a small team, that both still need to figure out how to leverage their time better and how to use something like the $10,000 an hour matrix and AI. And AI, again, can play a role to either help you get understanding around how to reduce your manual paperwork, or to help you build a system that will help you do that without the use of a human, but you are still a huge part of that process. Okay. And I saw someone here ask about which platforms are best for AI. And at the end of the day, every single type of business can benefit from AI. You just have to understand it's never about AI. It's about what is the problem that you have to solve, and can AI help me solve it? And then if AI can help you solve it, then you go figure out, well, what tool that do I already have that might have that AI component, or what tool do I need to go acquire? It's never AI first. It's always problem first. AI can to help because of that problem. And there will always, I don't care if it's farming. I watch documentaries on AI and farming just so I can better understand how the hell is a farmer using AI. And you best believe they are.
Okay. All right. So, and, definitely those who aren't using AI are at a serious disadvantage, whether it's farming or any other field. So, it's important to keep, utilize it if you're not utilizing it, and utilize it more effectively if you have started to utilize it. So now,
I guess we could pull this down, and
Okay.
you tell me when. I'll share the link to the ebook, and I'll share the link to CEOR if anybody's interested in it. It's very inexpensive. I just want to throw this out real quick. It's $10 a month to be in our CEO Strategy Hour program. That's it. So go ahead, Andrew.
Okay. All right. What a bargain. All right. And it can help you tremendously. So now, everybody's going to approach this differently.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you have people who are doing this with you and doing it, it's definitely a mind shift, but what else are they getting out of it?
What else do they get out of it? Well, they're starting to leverage technology better.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to understand themselves. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like I collected a series of testimonials recently from a number of our users who have been using the CEO Hour, our CEO Hour program regularly. And they're like, I now am more conscious when I decide to do stuff, or I'll do it when at the right time. Because you can show up 6 times a week and do CEO hour. You can join whenever you want once you're in the program. And it's really like they're showing up. They're going, hey, can you do a CEO hour? To the point where we actually had to build a personal program for our full-blown members. We had to build a private CEO hour so they could do it when we didn't have it scheduled, because they just want to log time better now, because they want to have a better understanding of how much time, where's the value in what I'm doing. And even myself, I'm now ahead of the game, where I used to be behind on certain things, and I'm starting to see the light. And it's because now that your focus is there, and then by the time you look up, you're like, holy crap, it's done, and it's a gamified feeling. And that's really what we've done here. So the value, besides the fact that you can put a dollar value to it, is the fact that you're going to learn about yourself. You're going to become a better CEO. I learned this from a number of my mentors. You can spend all day being extremely busy and still get nothing done. And that's what you end up doing. You're thinking you're busy, but it really doesn't move the needle. It doesn't either bring any revenue. It doesn't move you forward with a big partnership. It doesn't motivate you to go out and do something bigger than what you thought you could do. And that's one of the cool things I hear from our members that go, I really wasn't thinking like this before. And this has really opened the door for me to do things that I just never thought to even think about doing. And again, so when we have people share on the live calls and they start sharing things, well, you learn something. You learn something from that other person to go, wow, CEO hour was not my idea. I saw someone else do it in a different industry, and I said, can that work for my industry? So then I went to Gemini and I described what I saw and said, here's my audience, here's what I do. Can you create my version of that? But I want it 100% unique to me. That's how CEO Strategy Hour was created. It was me and AI together.
Okay, definitely. I think, a lot of things go back to what gets measured gets done. A lot of times people, you think you're using your time wisely, but, once you start digging into it, you may not be. And that's what this identifies. And, understanding yourself and what you're doing really helps make you a better leader, not only of yourself, but of your team, if you have one. So, definitely, we could talk about this for hours and hours more, but, our audience doesn't have hours and hours more. And,
I do. I could talk about this all day, man.
Yeah, I know, but you got work to do as well.
Yeah, I do.
But at least this is enough to let people know, kind of, one, that this is something that they could and should be doing, and how to do it. So definitely appreciate you taking time to share that.
Well, I have a question here. I really want to answer. Someone asked, which AI tool gives business owners the fastest return on investment? I really want to answer this question because I don't know. Again, you can't lead with AI first, and this is my personal opinion. So I'm not bashing the question. I'm saying it's always about the problem or the opportunity. When you're trying to figure out either or, that defines the direction. After you define the direction and either the problem that needs to be solved or the opportunity that needs to be acquired, then you figure out what tools can do it. The difference is you want that tool to have some form of AI in it so it can help you do it faster or more efficiently. So that's my answer to that, because there are many different types of businesses on this call, and there are many different types of businesses that may watch this recording. Everybody's different. The one thing that is constant is the fact that you all need to have some strategy that you're following. And if you're following that and you're solving problems and you're taking advantage of opportunities, SWOT analysis, 101, then this will help you determine, that strategy is telling you where the best ROI opportunities are, where you might be leaking something, that if you plugged it up, that in itself, without you even creating a new product, it in itself could double your profitability without you even having to release a new product or services. You have to do your due diligence to just make sure you actually have a strong strategy and let that become your leader that tells you what to do next.
Okay. So, AI is really just a tool. And, of course, you want to use the right tool, but many AI tools.
I think Andrew froze for a second. I would complete his statement, but there he is.
Yeah.
I was about to use AI on you and complete your statement.
Okay. So before we close out, I always ask the guests to share 3 key takeaways. Do you need a minute, or are you ready to share them now?
I could share them now, but if you give me a minute, I'll share something better.
Okay. Well, better is good. So I'm going to play a short video about financial management, which is something critical for business owners, especially as you grow, and something that we help entrepreneurs and business owners with. And then we'll be back with Jimmy to close us out.
Every great business owner needs an expert financial management team. As your business grows, you're going to need more comprehensive financial expertise to help you with these activities. Financing growth, managing cash flow, maximizing profitability, strategic planning and budgeting, accurate, timely information for decision-making, determining the appropriate staffing and inventory levels, and preparation for and analysis of potential opportunities. At this stage, you may not have the budget to hire multiple financial professionals from different firms. However, we can provide an outsourced team with over 100 years of experience in CFO, controller, accounting, tax, and bookkeeping to provide the expertise you need when needed. We will help you with your financial needs from A to Z. Whether you need bookkeeping, we will organize and enter your financial information. Accounting, we will provide accurate, timely financial reporting with analysis of key information and trends. Taxes, we will help you with tax preparation, reporting, and submission. Or CFO services, business strategy, financial projections, KPIs, or financing. We've got you covered from A to Z. Use the link below to schedule a complimentary discovery session. You have nothing to lose. Use the link below to explore how we can help.
Okay. Welcome back. I'm here with Jimmy Newson, talking small business. Our topic tonight is using AI to stop working below your pay grade. Jimmy shared a lot of valuable insights and information, but a lot of times people need a brief summary or something to take with them that's bite-sized that they can use to start implementing tomorrow. So what are the 3 key things that people should take away from tonight?
All right. So 1, just make sure that you understand what the purpose and vision of the organization is, because without that, anything that I teach you or you learn from anybody, it won't be as effective. So 1, confirm that you do know what your purpose, vision, and mission is. 2, if we're going to stick to the theme of today, which we should, I suppose, look at your last 48 hours and write down the top things that you've done and analyze that and see where you're spending your time. Because then 3rd, drop that into the AI tool and ask it for suggestions on improving it. Ask it for suggestions on how you can start to do more valuable stuff as the CEO of your organization, and even ask for ways that you can get some of this stuff off of your plate and either automate it or give it away to someone else. Those are those 3 things. 1, purpose, vision, mission. 2, analyze your last 48 hours. 3, leverage your favorite AI tool to analyze and give you next steps.
Okay, great. So, one thing that I think a lot of business owners don't do as well as they should is creating their mission, vision, values, purpose. And, it's not just coming up with something, it's really something that you should spend some time and effort on that reflects you and where you're going. And of course, you can use AI to help. So, second, your time allocation, what you're doing, and then leveraging AI. So, definitely very powerful stuff. I've learned things. I'm sure everybody in the audience has been learning things as well. So, definitely, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Anything you want to share before we close out?
Well, I dropped in 2 links and privately to you. So if you want to get those out to people, one is for the ebook, a free download. The other one, if you're interested in the CEO Strategy Hour. If you do download the ebook, when you get to the thank you page, of course, I'm a marketer. So on there will also be the opportunity to join the CEO Strategy Hour if you wanted to. It's a 14-day free trial, so you don't have to pay. You can even test it out for a couple weeks. Join if you like it, lovely. If you don't, I may not have. You don't have to see my face ever again. Okay, but at the end of the day, we want to make it easy for entrepreneurs and small business owners to see that progress, and I would do everything in my power to make sure it's accessible.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for leaving us with those. We're going to put them in chat or in the messages. So I just added, let's see.
And don't be surprised if you do join the CEO Strategy Hour, you get I will most likely reach out to you personally and schedule some time to talk to you.
Okay.
And don't worry about being shy, because believe it or not, I am too.
Okay.
We'll just be 2 shy people together.
So, all right. Well, this is great. So hang on for a minute as I close out, and we'll go from there. So,
You got it.
Okay, great. So, once again, always appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for your comments and questions. This was great and enhanced the session. Hopefully you got some valuable insights out of it. I know I did. And that's one of the reasons why, we bring Jimmy back on a periodic basis. So, definitely looking forward to that. Each week, as you know, we have great guests and great topics. Next week, we're going to have Justin, and we're going to talk about financing and fundraising, including crowdfunding. But I think a lot of people have misconceptions about those and what it takes to do it. So this could be valuable, even if you're not looking for financing yet. Eventually, you probably will. So, hopefully you can join us next week as well. So, so now at the end of the day, as a business owner, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is growing.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.